Well, go on, you man. Welcome to another YouTube video of AP26. Today's video is we're going to Aqsa. We're getting a tour of what?
Yes, my compound tour.
We're getting a compound tour, so we're getting the inside of it. Oh my God, it's hot. Yeah, so we're going to the compound. We're gonna get a tour of what's inside Nasheed Aqsa. All the not alleyways, sorry. There's like caves and tunnels that lead to Nasheed Aqsa and out to like outside of it. So we're gonna go see it out. I just know the history between Al-Aqsa, man.
Tied the Buraq, which is the animal, to this wall here. So can anybody tell me what the animal is? Can anybody give me a description of the Buraq? It was similar to a horse. What color was the Buraq? Does anybody know? White. So it said that the Buraq was a long white animal which is larger than a donkey and smaller than a mule. Can anybody tell me what the top speed of the Buraq is? Anybody know how fast it can go? Okay, so it's faster than any sport, I can imagine. Okay, so the Prophet came up. Was the Prophet ﷺ the first person to ever ride the Buraq? Yes, we have yes. Anybody differ? Did anybody else ride the Buraq? So the Buraq was ridden by many prophets, not just the Prophet ﷺ. Because there's a hadith where words to the effect, and you can look up the hadith where Rasulullah actually Jibreel alayhi salam, he basically told the Buraq basically to calm down because he was getting a bit he was moving, and he said that a prophet is about to mount you that has never mounted you before, like the best of all prophets. And there's indication in there that there were other prophets that had also been on the Buraq, so it wasn't unique to the Prophet once in the journey. So he came here and then he tied the Buraq. Now on the wall there was a ring. This isn't necessarily the exact point, but the Palestinians have put a ring in there to show that the Buraq would have been tied to this wall. And then when he tied the Buraq to the wall, he then went into Aqsa, where he then prayed behind where all the prophets prayed behind him. So there's a few things to worry of. So we call it the Al-Buraq wall. This is the Al-Buraq Masjid. We've got the Al-Buraq wall. This is the same wall that's referred to as the Western Wall, or also referred to as the Wailing Wall. So for the Jewish community, the Western Wall, I call it the Al-Buraq wall, they're on the opposite side of this. Obviously, it's a lot lower down than where we are, so we've come down, but the Wailing Wall is a lot lower down. Have you been to the Western Wall yet? Okay, so I think most people haven't. Obviously, a few people have been before. So when you go to the Western Wall, inshallah, I think you go today, or after Asr, you'll see how low it is compared to the ground level of the masjid and where the people are. So according to the Jews, they basically believe that it's the last remnants of the Herod temple, which is the second building of the temple. So for people who go, what I'd like you to do is have a look at the size of the rocks at the bottom and compare it to the top. The bottom one would be quite large, and as you go up, the rocks get smaller and smaller, because the rocks at the bottom are the original Herodian structure. And obviously, as I mentioned on the tour, we've got a gate called the Moroccan Gate, which is next to the Al Barak Mosque, which the keys the Israelis have, and the Muslims can't enter through that gate, and that's only for tourists. So the tourists obviously come in. Alhamdulillah, for the last 9 days they haven't come in because there was a ban for him, so they couldn't come in. And alhamdulillah, through that there's been a lot of peace in this masjid and no altercations. But obviously on a daily basis they do generally come in through there. They come through there and they exit through the chain gate. So for those who went at the Old City tour, if you wanted to go to the Western Wall on your own, you just go through the chain gate and it's there on the left. So that's really the significance of this place. Are there any questions that anybody has got? This is the last opportunity I'm going to have with you to spend time with you because I'm flying back tomorrow. This will be my last tour as well. So if there are any questions, then please do ask. And then once we've finished here, we'll then carry on to the other buildings in the mission.
What's the significance of the Jewish back wall?
So the significance is, so we have to realise that politically and theologically, the Zionists want to have a claim to this land. They want to have a claim to the land. So how do you have a claim to something when you don't have anything? So their first claim is that that's the second temple. That's the last remnants of the temple. So like if it was a masjid, that's like the last remnants of their holy place. And that's why they go visit it. They put prayer things in it, there's various things that they do. And when you go there, you can have a look with respect. Quite a lot of what happens in Jerusalem and Palestine is about changing the facts on the ground. So you'll see certain things. One is, if you look at the Mount of Olives, which I think will get shown to you, there are Jewish graves, there are Jewish cemeteries. But what I've been told by many people, many of those graves are empty. So what they're trying to do is show that they've been here for generations, hundreds if not thousands of years. But actually a lot of those graves are empty graves. The other thing they tried to do is change the signs as well. So like the Moroccan Gate, they tried to change the name of that a few years ago. They wanted to take away any aspect of the fact that this was an Arab country and this was Palestine, which is a bit of a fallacy anyway, but there's enough documents. Even as much as we might hate like the Balfour Declaration, it does mention Palestine as a country and all the other documents. So that again is their holy place. The interesting thing is if you look at Orthodox Jews don't believe they should have a state like Israel. Orthodox Jews also don't believe that they should come to what is referred to as a temple land. Yeah, so you'll see if you go to London to the protest, you see Jews come out and support the Palestinians. But the problem is we're dealing with an ideology, not a religion, always, and it's sometimes difficult. Even sometimes I have discussions with the Palestinians to say we shouldn't just say Jews, because not all the Jews are bad. But within Palestine, obviously everyone just calls them Yahud or Jewish. You'll hear it regularly. But it's probably not accurate to say it's just the Jews. It's a bit like saying all the Muslims are ISIS members, which we're not. So people obviously use language, it's obviously quite hard for them because they've been persecuted. But from an accurate perspective, it's more the Zionists the problem, not necessarily the Jewish faith as such, because there are Jewish people who, as I said, support the Palestinian cause, and a lot of them don't agree with what's happening within Israel itself. So, just before we go back up, when the Sultan came here, he obviously tied the Barak, which everyone should know, the speed of which is quite important as well, because one of the things that when Rasulullah did the journey, when he came back to Mecca and he told everyone the story, it was a very interesting reaction. So someone like Abu Jahl laughed at him, and then he went to Abu Bakr and said to him, Abu Bakr, look what your friend is saying. And then when Abu Bakr heard the story, what did he say? He said, if Rasulullah said it, then I believe. It was interesting, he said it. It was a good answer. And then he said, well, what's so amazing about this? Because something more amazing happens all the time, which is that Jibreel comes with the revelation from heaven. So what's so miraculous about him going to see Allah? But this did shake the faith of many of the Muslims. Many of the Muslims found it very difficult to accept this. They were obviously ridiculed. But the story here is about Abu Bakr, how strong his faith was. And that's why they said that he was the first Muslim to accept Islam without any doubt, without any delay. And the second thing about Abu Bakr, which I always think about and I think we should reflect upon, is when he was in the cave with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, he was in the cave with Rasulullah. He was the best of all the people after the prophets. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if you put the Imam of Abu Bakr in one scale, on one side and put the rest of humanity on the other side, Abu Bakr's Imam would be heavier. Yeah, when we looked at it, he was very thin man until he became older. Very thin man to the extent that his heart would drop below. And then he went to Rasulullah and said that it dropped below my ankle. And he said it's fine, because he was very thin, he found it difficult. But when he was in the cave, there were two that Rasulullah was with him, and Abu Bakr was there. And obviously Abu Bakr was scared. And I think this is one of the things that my teacher said to me a few weeks ago, which was the difference in the Sahaba and us is that they were honest with Allah.
That place basically was where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, he basically locked up his horse down there. You get me? Like, so he would leave his horse down that place and then he would go to Masjid Qibli and pray Salah there. So that's what the guy was really showing to us. So now we're gonna go. I have no idea where we're going right now, but I'm just taking my look.
So this building is often referred to as Old Aqsa. As I mentioned yesterday, sometimes people just refer to like the Bibli, this area as like Aqsa itself. But obviously, as we know it is the whole compound. So you'll see some of the structures behind me. You can see like the rocks and how large they are behind and just here. Some people believe, and only Allah knows best, is some people believe that these were placed by the jinn themselves, just because of the large, so just how large they are. So this is the underlying structure of the building. We had a talk yesterday where the Imam talked about most of the buildings in Jerusalem. Most of the buildings in Jerusalem having multiple layers, and it's the same with this mosque as well. Within each of the buildings there are multiple layers. As we've seen, we've gone to the top, which is where we walk, then we've come down different layers. If you go to the Marwani Masjid, which which we may not be able to do today. There are different layers as well, and that goes quite deep as well. Those are, I would say, the main significance of the place. Yesterday, however, we asked the question to the Imam, like, where did the Prophet ﷺ pray when he led all the prophets? I think the real question of it is probably not that relevant, exactly where he prayed. But I asked the question because people kept asking me. I had like 3 theories at the moment, so I thought I'd ask him because he's the Imam. He said it's his view, from what he's understood, that the Prophet ﷺ was most likely to have prayed in an area like this, and he would have led the prophets from a place like this. He also said, in his view, he would have faced the Kaaba when he led, even though Aqsa was the Qibla at the time. So I'm just sharing the information that I learned yesterday, because you always learn stuff. Every time I come here, I learn something new. And we'll continue to learn. But obviously, that was just his opinion. During the winter months and during Ramadan, as people have experienced, this area is reserved for the women to either do i'tiqaf or to pray when it's cold, etc. And sometimes for Jummah, then they'll use it as an overspilling for the men as well. So that's an area that's reserved. And on my left, you'll see some of the people walking, that there is a library there as well. So some people like to just spend time in the library, even people like tourists like us when we come, just to get away from everything. So there's a library there as well. So the other anecdote I'd share with you, so most of us were here on the 27th night, and there was a point where it started to rain. Yeah, just like very short, maybe for 2 minutes it starts to rain. And then after the Imam finished, he said to everyone, "Oh, it's raining. Everyone try and squeeze your rows." And for those people going to the Marwani and people going to Old Aqsa, obviously he probably didn't think about what he was saying, because then a Palestinian said to me in English, he said, "Oh Imam, you have no idea how many people are praying behind you." Because no matter how many people are going to squeeze in, no one's going to fit into these underground places. And that's one of the interesting things is the covered areas serve a real purpose. This whole area could have just been open plan, but the covered areas have a massive impact on people's lives. So as you see now, it's really hot outside, it's really cool inside, and they don't have AC. I think they've got one thing there, but they generally don't have air conditioning in here. So that's one of the other questions which I didn't mention the other day. For those people who played in the Ghibli Masjid, how hot does it get in there? Yeah, it gets uncomfortably hot. So my question is why don't they put air conditioning in the third holy mosque of Islam? If you go to Makkah and Medina, it gets too cold. You've got cool tiles on the floor, but in Aqsa, we don't have those things. And the reason we don't have those things is because of the restrictions placed by the occupying forces. There is enough funds to cover the cost of bringing air conditioning into this place. There is enough funds available in the Muslim world to be able to. So I know somebody who said he would cover the cost of all the air conditioning in Aqsa. But the problem is that the occupying forces won't allow it. And actually, I heard a story yesterday. Again, we hear stories that the Imam of the Haram, Sheikh Yusuf, said, "If I was a normal person, i.e. I was the Imam, I would never pray in the Ghibli Masjid." He said, "I would always pray outside, because who would want to pray here?" He said, "It's so hot that there's no air, and it's very, very difficult." So yeah, some of the things there. The one story I wanted to share, and I did share this with some of the people who came on the mosque compound tour, but just as a reminder, as we talked about Sulaiman alayhi salam and the jinn. Sulaiman alayhi salam was a prophet, but also a king. He was the only prophet that was a king as well. So he had a huge kingdom, and he had control over the jinn. He had control over the animals, and he had control over the weather. So he had immense power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given to him. When Sulaiman had built the masjid or the temple, some people refer, he then said to Allah, he made a dua which was, "Oh Allah, allow my judgment to be according to your judgment." The second thing he said was, "Give me a kingdom or a dominion like no other kingdom ever." And the third one is, whoever comes to pray 2 nawafil in Masjid al-Aqsa for no other reason, then allow them to return home sin-free like a newborn baby. Then the Prophet ﷺ heard this and he said, "I hope, inshallah, that the third dua will be accepted because the first 2 were accepted as well." So those are just some of the things I just wanted to mention here. So we'll go back upstairs. As the lady's asking, they got no obligation to give. She said that she's from Gaza and she wants some sadaqah. Only Allah knows best, but I'll leave that to you guys. We're going to walk back out. We're going to walk towards Baba Rahman.
Oh my days, I need lighting out here, fam. These man even clean the whole masjid. Is mad. Right behind me, right, is Palestinians wanting to improve this place, and they want to do works. However, the Israelis, they didn't let them do the work. So they have a point of like, they have an excuse to say to the government saying, these men are not using this spot, so give it to us. So they literally stopped the Palestinians from working and making this place looking better. I'll show you how it looks. You can see that there's stones, there's still things that these men bought. They're trying to put in work. They're so mad that these men are trying to make the mosque just look better, and Israelis are just preventing them from doing that, man. Allah.
In the last 5 or 6 years, this is something that the Palestinians, and this is their constant challenges that they face. They want to use every square inch of the masjid. The occupying forces don't want them to do it. But alhamdulillah, through their perseverance and their character, they've managed to make this now into a masjid that people pray in. An equivalently significant building, as is all the buildings here, in terms of their. What's more significant, as I mentioned, is that this is quite a new thing that's being created. So the fact that people can pray here with carpets, etc., and to show again that this is an active place of prayer. This isn't like a disused building. Everything's all about land in Palestine. And obviously the occupying forces want to grab as much land as possible, whether it's in the West Bank or whether it's within the masjid itself. And so again, if you can think about, and I'll talk a little bit more about a separate story, the Palestinians don't have any weapons, they don't have anything other than like rocks. They don't actually have anything that they can use to be able to defend themselves. But yet, if you imagine people that don't have anything against probably the largest military force in the world, but yet they keep winning every time. And it shows the character of the Palestinian people as well. The fact that Allah chose them as well. Some of our teachers said, we read the seerah, whereas they live the seerah. Yeah, look at the difference. We read it and we think about the struggles that Bilal radiallahu went through, and then when there was a boycott. But these people live it on a daily basis. Every single day they go through struggles. I was just walking through the gate now, and some youth was being harassed. I don't know what, they were checking on his shoulder, and his elbows and stuff. It's just harassment on a daily basis. After that, Israel then closed the masjid. You may remember they closed the masjid, and then afterwards they said that they wanted to install cameras in the mosque, and they wanted to put metal detectors up. So has everyone been to Khalil? So you've seen the situation there.
No, I've been
Yeah.
waiting.
So you go through checkpoints in the masjid, you go through metal detectors. That's always been my fear, that what they did in Khalil is what they'll do here. Yeah, because it was like a proven pattern that worked. Yeah, and it's been in existence since. So on all the gates of the mosque, they put a metal detector up. This was one of the gates I remember from the pictures. I wasn't here, I'd left, and after a month or two, then the problem started. Why am I actually telling you this story? And this is really important for us to think. The Muslims refused to pray in Masjid al-Aqsa while the metal detectors were there. They refused. Can you imagine the third holiest mosque, not a single person praying inside? I mean, the Zionists were probably having like a field day, thinking, this is easy now, we can walk in, we've got no hostilities, etc. But the Muslims refused to pray inside the masjid. Why? As soon as you accept something, that will then remain forever. The Palestinians said, we will not be harassed. We are not going to have a metal detector go and check every single one of our items. We are not going to make this place like Khalil. What happened in Khalil was a tragedy. And now 5 times a day they have to be harassed every single time they go in. So the Muslims, so the Imams themselves prayed here. And they made line from here. And if you imagine, so think about your bearings now. From here, this is Lion's Gate, which is near where we go back through Herod's Gate. From here, all the gates of the masjid, through the streets, all the way to Salahuddin Street, where Golden Walls Hotel is, all the way back where you see all the parade. People prayed. People prayed their salah, but they said, we're not going to Aqsa while those metal detectors are in place. Can you imagine that sight? And each day, more Palestinians came. More Palestinians came. So many Palestinians came, it shut the whole roads down. What did they have? They had Allah with them. Second thing our teacher said is, what did they have? Salah. That was the only thing they did. They didn't fight, they didn't throw rocks, they didn't do nothing. Day in, day out, those lines got longer and longer. Can you imagine walking through Damascus Gate and all you can see is people praying? And eventually the greatest might, the greatest army in the world with the biggest military had to pack up. They took out all the metal detectors, took all the cameras and went home. So it just shows you the resistance of these people, but it shows you one thing. The Imams themselves were on the front line. Yeah, Sheikh Omar Kiswani, I saw pictures of him in hospital because he got hit by the guards. But after he recovered, he came back to lead the salah. The reason why I'm telling this story is that other people won't tell you these stories. But it's really significant for me, the fact now we're outside in an area where the metal detectors would have been placed. Now you can see the cameras everywhere. It's got the most cameras in any city in the world. But the Palestinians said, we will not accept this, and they resisted. And that is just their nature. They didn't resist in a violent way. They resisted through the salah.
Yeah. That is peaking.
Say, we're going to get like a gate on the city and put it there.
buggy and probably just leave it here. If you look up there, because this is so
who obviously travelled here and lived here and then died here as well. He's more famously known for his hadith, so the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ in particular around good conduct and good manners and morals. He also has many of his own sayings as well, but yeah, this is obviously one of the Sahabas that were here.
That's you, man. That's the end of the vlog. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out for the vlog tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 30th night. Today's the 29th. As you can see, it's all packed out in there. So I'm gonna right now do iftar. And yeah, man, take care.